There is a strategy which is taking over Town Hall 13. It is the easiest strategy that there is for 3 stars and the best strategy for Town Hall 13. So in this video, I will break it down across a couple of replays so that you know exactly how to do it. Alrighty guys, let's get into this. Before we start the replay, I think it's important to note that this is a fully maxed Town Hall 13. Everything is upgraded as far as it will go. Normally what we see with an update is that offense gets upgraded incredibly quick and it just takes a little while longer for the defense to get upgraded. Not in this one. Fully maxed, and this strategy will wreck pretty much any base design. You can 3-star virtually any Town Hall 13 base with this, but there are some things you want to look for to make it even easier. Now, one thing which is brilliant about this strategy as well is that it is an adjustment to the PEKKA smash, the very popular strategy which I'm sure many of you do at Town Hall 12. Let me know in the comments if you have tried this strategy and how you do it. Now, I would recommend you stick very closely to the troop composition at the bottom, because there's not a lot really that you need to change from that. You need to be able to get through the base and you need to be able to set up the funnel. And I would always recommend using the Grand Warden Walk in order to start that funnel for a number of reasons. Number one, it's incredibly easy to do because it's a free funnel. Your Grand Warden will not use up any troop capacity. It's basically time. That's what you need to be careful of, making sure that potentially up to a minute, and then after that you're getting the rest of your troops in so you don't time fail. But the Grand Warden can also reach across walls and take out buildings on the inside of the base. Now that's something that you always want to set the funnel, not just on the outside of the base, but on the inside as well, so that your troops don't walk. But essentially all you are doing that is different from the PEKKA smash is taking Yeti instead of bowlers. So the new troop replaces the bowlers. It's a lot easier to funnel them into the base because they're not necessarily a ranged troop, but the Yeti mites will go over the walls and take out the defenses, meaning that they're better than the bowlers because they are more tanky than the bowlers. They don't go down as quick, but you can take out them defenses very fast. So we've got all of them coming in towards the town hall. Now I would prioritize the town hall as an important building. It doesn't have to be taken on the entry. It depends on what value you can get, but you've got to know that when you come to that later on in the raid, it's going to be very difficult to take down if you're starting to go down on troops. But just look at the pathing through the base. The first jump spell is used just behind the town hall, which gives us access to pretty much everything here. But you also want to make sure that you get access to the other multi-infernos. So all we need to do is pop a jump spell right here. That gives us access through the entire base, and that's something you want to look for. Whether you use jump spells, whether you use earthquakes, as long as you get access to the splash damage and into the heart of the base, that's what you're aiming for, because you can use the Royal Champion, the new hero, to snipe off things around the edge of the base. And Lando has already brought the Royal Champion in down to the bottom to start peeling off the defenses around the outside, and then when you have that ability, any point defense that are stuck on the outside of the base, she will just wipe it out with the Seeking Shield. So we've got two jump spells, sorry. Then you often want to take a heal spell. That can be used for a few different reasons. I will show you other examples as we move on from this. One of them being taking Hog Riders in the Siege Barracks, but you can heal up the Yeti and the PEKKA if needed, but obviously the healers should be on there. There is the Hog Riders that came out of the Siege Barracks. You can use the heal spell for them, and I will show you an example of that. But really what you're using is the Siege Barracks either to create the funnel or to reinforce, get another PEKKA into the mix, and then when the heart of the base is taken out, the Hog Riders come around the outside of the base alongside that Royal Champion to finish off defenses. We've got more examples, and they will show different points and educational aspects than this first attack, so let's move to the next one. You will see the main educational points throughout the replays, but I've purposely picked ones that showcase a few different things as well, so that you have ideas on how to adjust the strategy slightly dependent on the base design. Now remember, we said you need access through all of the base. Earthquake spells in this one right in the center will give us access throughout that entire base, especially to the splash damage, not to mention the added damage onto all of these defenses in the middle, 2 of them being the scatter shots. Beautiful. Coming in towards the town hall then is probably your best option, like we said in the last one, and it's relatively straightforward here. We just have to funnel on either side, so as long as we create the funnel at the top here, funnel at the bottom, all of the troops will come into the base and to the town hall. Now there's a few different ways you can do this. It does depend on the layout itself. The Grand Warden walk is probably your go-to because it's so easy to pull that Grand Warden when you then deploy your regular troops. All that means is the Grand Warden will be attacking, and then when you deploy your PEKKA and Yeti, the Grand Warden will switch to support mode and move over there. So the Grand Warden walk is used down to this bottom area. King is used to the top. Now you can use the siege barracks as well. Let's say you put the siege barracks here, the PEKKA and the wizards will take out all of these buildings. It might be more difficult to use the hog rider method though, which you will see in this one as well. However, it can be done. Just think about the pathing of where the hog riders will go, and I did that in my attack. I will be sure to link you across to the video where I broke down me doing this strategy and using the siege barracks in that manner. But the Barbarian King, because he has the ability, there's never really any splash damage pushed right to the side of the base other than giant bombs. You should be able to use that King's ability and create a funnel beautifully, and that's been done easily on either side. There's nowhere else for the PEKKA and Yeti to go other than into the base here, and that's where the Grand Warden switches across. We've got the Queen, and we've also got the siege barracks behind as well. Now this is a key strategy. It means you've got the extra PEKKA, you have the wizards, but then you're actually gutting out the base itself before the hog riders come out. I will show you that in a second. So most of them will be drawn into the center of the base. That is where we use the earthquake spells, and then you can adjust on the fly as well. So out come the hog riders, and because hog riders are defense targeting troops, they tend to come to the outside of the base and around because you've already got everything taking out the center, and this is where you can commit a heal spell to the hog riders as well. That is 45 troop capacity. That's 9 hog riders. That is an incredible amount, so be sure to heal them if they are going to take out a lot of defenses. Now the Royal Champion was brought in towards the bottom of the base. You can bring her in with the hog riders for added benefit, but don't send her into the middle of the base. She is an incredible tool to take out defenses where the Yeti are not. So the Yeti will slowly move through the base, and wherever they go you can adjust and use the Royal Champion on the opposite side as well. Alongside the ability, she can take down a huge amount of defenses. That's where potentially on this one, if she were used at the top of the base, it might have helped. Now the archers and the wizards coming in here are also a key point. Often very similar to that PEKKA smash strategy, this is what you might find. The PEKKA are the ones that are up front, dealing the damage, and they tend to be the ones that get healed from the healers. Now because the Yeti are not ranged troops, one thing I haven't mentioned so far, which is another reason the Yeti are better than the bowlers, they tend to stand next to the PEKKA because they're not ranged troops, which means you get an added healing effect onto the PEKKA and Yeti, whereas you never get that with the bowlers because they stand back being a ranged troop. But you'll often get to this situation where towards the end you need to make sure you have some cleanup troops as well, but the hog riders, Royal Champion are a good way for you to do that. Now let's show you a completely different replay again. Again, very similar army composition for this one. We use jump spells to get through the base. Just make sure that you look at pathing and you decide, do you take 2 jump spells, do you take 1 jump spell and 4 earthquakes? That's actually what I did in my attack, which I will link you across to after this attack. This is the last one of the video. Keep it relatively short, show you guys a couple of different base designs, but giving you good variety so that you can actually learn the strategy. So let's dive into this one then, and I want you to take note of when we attack the town hall in this one, we don't attack it head on. You might assume that yes, we just drive straight into the town hall here. You don't actually need to do that, because the Yeti mites will jump out to the side and they can help to take down the town hall. You just have to get alongside it. So if we were to get here into this compartment, the Yeti mites would still get across to that town hall, and the Queen will also do that. So funnel setup very similar to that last one. King used on one side. Always take note of any enemy heroes that you're going to be coming up against, because that can be a factor in terms of when you send the King to one side potentially and the Grand Warden walk to another. You might have noticed, do a quick rewind if you didn't, but one balloon came in order to test for black bombs. If you're suspecting one, there's an air defense at the bottom here, plus a few other defenses scattered around. There's always chance of a black bomb. Then you might want to send in that coconut loon so you don't lose a healer. So maybe the Grand Warden could have stepped up and got this multi, but he was starting to go down the bottom. You've got to know when to pull that Grand Warden before it's too late. The Yeti are deployed basically inside the aura. That's always my general rule of thumb in terms of just get your troops inside that and he will walk across to protect them. Also note this one Pekka across to the left hand side, very important, so that the Yeti don't walk around this way and miss the entry point, because we've got to be careful on the jump spells, right? Look at where this one is. It provides access right the way through into this middle compartment where the eagle is, which is very important because it means that the next jump spell can be used a little bit more strategically as well. And like I said, this jump spell does actually provide them direct access onto the town hall, but they can take it down without being directly on it. Just know that, guys, you can plan to come to the side of it, and that's actually one way you might get around the Giga Bomb as well. So the Yeti, well, they do actually come in. Grand Warden is used. Most of the time you want to use that Grand Warden's ability for the town hall as well, that Giga Bomb, especially if your Yeti and Pekka are within that area. They do a ton of damage. So, Hog Riders on this one came kind of into the base itself, but that's fine. They're well protected. Even if they don't loop around the base, it's absolutely fine for them to come in. Like I said, you've still got that Royal Champion to come through the outside, and there's the next jump spell providing you access through. Now what I would say is try and use your rage spells relatively early so you get that maximum benefit, and use them before your troops start to split up. So if you know once they get into the center of the base they're going to take huge damage and they're going to split, then you might want to use the rage spell so you get maximum benefit from it. Just gut out the core. If you can get the inside of the base down, as you have seen, there's not a lot of Pekka, there's not a lot of Yeti left, but the Royal Champion is a beast. The Hog Riders will often be tanked as well and have something else distracting a defense and can get through, and the Yeti mites, as long as you have some left in that Yeti basket, can continue to jump across onto buildings as well, plus get the other troops in. A couple of cleanup troops in this one. On my attack, I used a couple of balloons, baby dragon, things like that as well, which are cleanup troops, but can easily take down an extra defense or so as well if you need to. So if you want to see my explanation of this attack, my attack which we did in this war, in fact, I'm going to link it right here for you, but it is a brilliant strategy. I would be using it right now in Clash of Clans before it potentially gets nerfed, guys. But we will see you again here tomorrow, so be sure to see us then.